Yeah, so one of the things I think that you really brought, and the approach we took when we started on this basically back in November, was let's start with a clean slate. Let's not bring any of my preconceived notions or 20 years of experience to bear. Let's look at social media and content as they exist today and as they are engaging markets today.
Yeah, I mean, people are personal and relational, so they don't want really just a blank-faced brand. So it's the same thing now in the B2B space where they want to see your face and the name of the person of the company, basically, or the people of the company.
Because the goal of B2B social media for manufacturers and B2B companies is not becoming viral. Like, we're not trying to become that next latest, greatest sensation. The goal is for us to be able to represent our brand and represent our story to our ideal clients and attract them to us, right?
Yeah, I think pop culture needs to be in B2B. B2B people, professionals, and even marketing agencies are afraid to integrate pop culture and meme culture because it looks unprofessional. I would argue that professional is not necessarily the look of a creative or anything like that. It's just more of a mannerism.
One of the other things we've started to do here at 50 Marketing, and you've been involved in this, I think, 2 or 3 times, is we have a content experience where we go to a client. So first of all, we set this up with a client where we do a lot of questions and copywriting and script writing and Q&A. And then we present that to our clients. They get a group of people at their organization lined up to sit down in a one-on-one like this. And we either provide the person to interview them or they have someone at their organization that has the conversation. We show up with all of the gear and we film 10, 12, 14 one day interviews and just extract enough content for YouTube videos, long form, shorts, reels, and probably 6 months of really strong social media content. What have you learned from those content experiences that we've done? And do you think they can provide enough value for the investment of time, energy, and resources?
Yeah, I talked about this in a class that I presented to as well, where with the new model of podcasting, you have the opportunity to pick a time, whether it's 1 to 4 hours or a whole day, and shoot a bunch of it, where it's a create session, where you sit down, you have everything planned out, you know the topics you're going to talk about, you know, you even have scripts sometimes, and you just do a create session where you're creating all the stuff you need, and then that allows you to have the flexibility to build out your social calendar and build out the month or however long you want that content to last. And that's the same approach when it comes to a podcast experience, where you're able to get the whole team together. It can be a team experience. Everyone's kind of getting together, and that's where everyone can share what's going on within the company. So it's really authentic. You can hear other aspects of the company, even just being there at the experience, but then that gives you all of the content and all the information you need to share with your audience on social media all in one day. So it doesn't require the energy and expenses of going to all the different locations of your company. It doesn't require having a video crew go on different days. It's one day, it's a long day, and you get to hear everything about the company in that, or what's going on at that moment. And so it really opens the door to being creative with the clips that you get, the different videos where you have the long form video, you have the cuts where it's like an 8 to 10 minute shorter version, and then all of the vertical social media clips. A podcast experience day just allows you to have all of that information available to you to build out your calendar for the next weeks or months after.
Yeah, and I think while those were really long days for us, right, I think it's not that bad for the client, because each individual client who's participating in each of their personnel that's participating usually only has to give us about a half hour to 45 minutes, depending on their level of expertise. Now, certainly the C-suite, an owner, a founder is going to be probably giving us more because we're going to ask about some company history, as well as some other aspects about mission, vision, value, their unique value proposition, and try and set a tone for the rest of the interviews. But whenever you have an individual production manager or a quality manager or a client success person or the sales manager, in 30 minutes, we can extract probably anywhere from, 7 to 10 clips from that interview. We can get maybe 2 or 3 videos. And then there's also the opportunity for us to have compilation videos. Like if every interviewer talks about quality or the product's features and benefits or whatever, we can start jamming those together. And then that's content that really lives not only in social media, but on their YouTube channel. We can then lean into it on their website. And then also their sales team can use it as part of their sales enablement content to help allow their prospective buyers to self-serve. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value that we're seeing in that approach. And that's another myth that I think exists in good social media and good content generation, is that when we look at some of these creators online, we think, oh, they're just someone following around with a camera 24/7. A lot of them do it in these create sessions in 4 hours or 12 hours in one big time, one big focus time, because they can't afford to have 6 or 7 people running around. Now, there are other people. Gary Vee does, I think, have a crew that follows him, basically watches him sleep, kind of like that Truman Show, right? Like he is under the lights all the time, but he's an exception. And we're not arguing that any of our prospective clients or current clients would adopt that model. But no, I think those content create sessions are very valuable. I think they're going to be the new norm. And I think it allows folks who are behind, who want to catch up, late adopters who want to move to the forefront and be a leader in their market, catch up really quickly and cost effectively without, we can walk them through that journey so that they don't have to figure it out themselves.
Yeah. And with the podcast experience, the way we've done it is you have the crew that's focused on the podcast and interviewing the people. And then you have the video team who's actually going out and getting B-roll to go with all the clips and go with the long form to really explain what the people are talking about. And so it's the same idea, whether it's a single creator, they set up a create session where their goal is to get as many podcast style clips in a 4-hour time span. And then they have a day where all they do is just film them doing their stuff. So if you're a lifestyle creator, you have your podcast voiceovers, and then you do all the lifestyle stuff, like as simple as, okay, what do I normally do? I wake up, I make food, I put my stuff in my backpack, I walk out the door, I drive, and all the way through it. You just pick a day where you can go and film all of that. So then it's not every day, every hour, like the old school daily vlog days, where you are filming every single thing you're doing every single day. Realistically, none of us are putting out that output. Sure. Unless the goal is 100% virality, that is the work you have to put in, but then you reap the benefits of like you're one of the more famous people in the world. But for the most of us, it's explain what we're doing, what you do in a day or in your work or life, but just pick a create day to do it. So it's one difficult day, but then it allows you to have the freedom throughout the rest of the time period that you're going to be posting all of that content.
When we look at branding and its importance in B2B marketing, when we think about 95% of your potential market is not buying today, only 5% is active. And the key is you have to be brand aware to that 100% of that market. Because if you're not aware to them, if they're not aware of your brand, whenever they move from the 95 to the 5, the research is overwhelming that you will most likely not be considered as part of that purchase process. You can't just swoop in 5 minutes before they're ready to buy and they're going to consider your brand. When we think about how important it is for the brand message to permeate our entire target market, we can take this content create experience. We can take that day and tell our brand story, who we are, what we do, where we do it, why we do it, who we do it for, our unique value proposition, our mission, our vision, our values, and really lean into telling that brand story. That to me is the most authentic approach we can take today that is scalable. Mm-hmm. We often have clients who say, well, if we can only get people to visit our factory, our plant, our office location, or whatever, and they see it and they get to meet our people, we close a very high percentage of those companies. Well, the reality is nobody can afford to do that. We can't fly in our prospective clients, and nobody's going to do that because 72% of B2B buyers want a self-service experience before they even talk to a sales rep, let alone go and visit a plant and disrupt their lives. So this content create experience really feels to me like something that we can leverage to tell that brand story and help us create brand awareness in 100% of our total addressable market, so that whenever they move into that 5% and they're in market and ready to buy, that we are on the list for consideration.
Yeah, whenever your audience is in the 95%, it's like the idea that Hormozi talks about is if you can build a brand, you don't have to do sales, people will come to you. And that's the same thing we found with the podcast and our content is it's taken some time. We are at the 6-month phase, but then we found that's the time frame where it takes, if you're doing something 6 months, that's probably when you might start seeing the results. And we have.
Yeah.
We are reaching out, but we've had a lot of people reach out to us because the brand has been built. We've reached the 95. And so some of the 95 has transitioned into the 5% of the buyers within the company. And so it helps us not have to try as hard in the sales and the reaching out, cold calling, that aspect of trying to get clients or people to work with. They're coming to us. They understand the brand. They connect with us. They know we're authentic, and they trust us through the authority we've built online and social media. And so we built that brand. So if you build that brand, people will come and they will see you, they'll trust you, and they'll want to reach out. They'll be proactive, which is kind of foreign. Rarely is it those people reaching out to be proactive. You only really see that in audiences where there's a person, an influencer, and people are like, oh, they follow them, or if they follow an athlete, they want to go get their autograph. It's the same thing when you're building a brand. If you can build something valuable, trustworthy, and authentic, people will reach out to it instead of you having to reach out to them.
Absolutely. And this is a great segue because one of the things I want to talk about today is when we started this in November, we shot the first episode. Yeah. We did not start to distribute it until February because we had a lot of infrastructure to build. We tested it. We proved that I could handle myself on camera, that I could live with it, that I could be personable and do this type of interaction. We also, in talking it up with some of our clients and some of the initial guests, they were like, yeah, we'll do it. And you're right. When we first started out, I was working hard on the phone to get guests.
Yeah.
We were reaching out. We were really struggling hand to mouth for guests and scheduling those things. We were running a lot. Noah and I were on the road. As soon as we could get a guest booked, we would go to their facility and shoot it. So it was a struggle. And this is so true. In the early going, I think we started the first episode. We had some brilliant cross promotion with one of our clients, and they did an amazing job. So we got a ton of views. Yeah. The monologue episodes that I've done, they have not done as well because we don't have the two sides. But here's where we are 6 months later, right? We're here in August, and what has changed and what is different and what's working. And I had to reference my phone because I can't remember these things. But when you look at our traffic and our engagement and our views today compared to where we were in February, the lowest multiple we're looking at is 5x. Mm-hmm. Most of them are in the 20x, some 30x for views, engagement. I mean, it's all impressions across every metric. And that's important.
Yeah.
But that doesn't tell the whole story because as we talked about before, if people are seeing our stuff, they're becoming aware of our brand. Is that just eyeballs or is that potential clients?
Yeah.
And when we look at the potential clients, let's look here. We have built an additional $1 million in pipeline in the past 2 months directly off of the podcast.
Yes.
Directly off. And let's be clear. It doesn't have to be a podcast. Most of our views are on YouTube.
It's that strategy, that marketing strategy of authentic content that connects and brings value to the audience that you want.
Yeah, and content create, right? Doing that type of effort because, I think if you look at our, let's just be honest, our Spotify, our iTunes, those type of quote unquote audio podcasts, we have like 0 views.
Yeah.
We have 0 subscribers. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
When you look at our YouTube channel, when you look at the YouTube views, when you looked at our LinkedIn channel, our Instagram, Facebook, and then you look at my personal brand and channels there, through the roof. And ultimately, what do we care about? We wanted to get our message out there, connect, drive pipeline, and that's working. One of the other things that's happened as a result of the podcast effort is now we are no longer struggling to find guests. On a weekly basis, we usually hear from 2 or 3 folks who are interested, and it's across the series. So we have the executive series, we have the expert series, we have the marketing manager series. These are 3 different series we're doing in addition to some internal and topical series. This most likely will go in the expert series where we're talking about social media, content experience, brand communication. But we are seeing other experts and their publicists and promotional people reaching out to us to be part of the content experience, part of this podcast. So that's been an amazing journey to not only see the engagement go through the roof, the pipeline that's been developed, and now it's almost self-perpetuating. I mean, it's a living, breathing thing that is transcending any effort that we're putting into it. When we started this, you and I talked about, we made a commitment, a year. I was going to do this for a year, whether there was 1 view, like whether it was only family and friends, or whether it actually worked. Did you think we would see traction this quickly, or what was your roadmap or prediction or thought process around what would happen with this effort?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, considering the consistency that we've posted, the podcast episodes, and the amount of time we put into it, I'm not entirely surprised, specifically with the way LinkedIn is right now. Even with posting my personal stuff that isn't necessarily professional, or it could be, it's talking about my journey professionally as an intern, what I'm learning at college. There is a lot of opportunity to get views and growth on LinkedIn right now. And I think that's been a driving factor for us, is when people are sharing stuff, whenever you are posting consistently on LinkedIn, we're on the early stages of that hump before it gets to where like TikTok and Instagram are right now. So the fact that we were able to get on this LinkedIn train, I think helped us. And so the 6-month growth that we've received, even though it might not be like measurable in amount of followers that we gained, I think in the amount of energy, excitement, engagement, and actual clicks that we've gotten, whether it's sponsored or whether it's organic content, doesn't surprise me entirely, but it is exciting that it is doing what I thought it would do. The guests that I had of like LinkedIn, what Gary Vee has been saying, what a lot of the experts have said, I do think it's true. So let's go for it. And I think it's done what we've hoped, to really get us traction with people that we want to reach out to in order to get revenue and have a company and do what we're supposed to do. So, LinkedIn specifically right now for my demographic, like TikTok right now is moving away from the old, like traditional 12-year-old platform. The fastest growing demographic is 35, 55 right now.
Old people.
So the TikTok is trending older. LinkedIn is trending almost younger now. So it used to be, that's where you went and got a job. And that's where it was all older executives looking for these younger people, or even just normal, like 35, 40-year-old job seekers. That's where they're going to find people to work for their company. Now it's trending towards content is being created in all demographics, but younger professionals are actually engaging on LinkedIn. Most of my friends, even if they aren't 100% invested or serious about business or what they want to do, they are on LinkedIn and they are interacting because they know there's opportunity on there. And so even me, who hasn't posted super consistently on LinkedIn sees intense growth because my demographic isn't creating for my demographic. So there's this whole demo of people that are only consumers and there's no creators yet. So whenever it comes to that, LinkedIn is a great opportunity for the up and coming young professional to actually go out there and find growth and opportunity to build your network and to build your brand. If you build a good brand, it's a great piece to go to a company with, because then maybe you could be the brand face for that company, because they need someone. The executives might not want to be that.
Sure.
It doesn't always have to be the CEO or the CMO as a brand face. As long as there's someone who is stable, invested in the company, and probably willing to be around for a decent amount of time, they can become your brand face. And so establishing that and then really investing into the channels of LinkedIn, now TikTok for the older demo, and then YouTube, which is always a great library. I think you can achieve the growth that we've seen in 6 months.
Yes. And I think it takes a lot of investment. It takes a lot of effort and guidance. And, hopefully we've been able to take some of that guesswork out of for potential clients who want to go on this journey with us. We can certainly help them get there. But, okay, switching gears again, one of the other things that when we talk about never say social media, when you're talking about marketing for your business, because there's so many aspects to it, is we have to consider LinkedIn Sales Navigator. There is a whole playbook, strategy, roadmap for successfully engaging your ideal clients, your perfect clients on LinkedIn using Sales Navigator, and then also using the ads platform and the audience builders, right, in their networks. Whenever we started working through that and building our playbook and roadmap, not only for my personal brand, but for 50 Marketing, and then offering that to our clients, what were some of the things you learned in that process?
Yeah, one of the main projects I had was R&D for how to actually build a connection and follower base for LinkedIn over the summer. And what I mainly looked for was services, and I ended up with Sales Navigator of how can I build the connections and the audience for someone like you, for an entire company or brand, or for different individual employees of a company. And we found this strategy of actually reaching out, building an audience that's through all these different parameters that fits the people we're trying to connect with. So we're looking for whether it's looking for manufacturing marketing managers, or whether it's in beauty and you're looking for boutique beauty shops, or however it is, whatever audience you're looking for, you can find that on Sales Navigator. So you put in the parameters, you have this list, whether it's 1,000 or whether it's 10,000, and you start going in. And the way we've organized it is you have it on Sales Navigator, and then you can put it into a Google Sheet, which has all the drop downs. It has notes about where they're from, whatever state. We're doing it by state, the company's revenue, and then what their title is. And from there, you can go in and connect with them, send them a note. And that's how you can build a following, especially if you're a young or like in the beginning stages of your content creation journey. Specifically for one of the brands that I manage, we're smaller. It's only like 300 to 400 followers. And the biggest advantage that a young stage influencer or a small following brand has is that they can do personal and individual invites and reach. They can follow them on Instagram first and get the follow back. They can reach out and DM them saying, hey, we want you to try this new thing or check out this new thing. That's personal connection, and people will connect with that. So the same thing with LinkedIn is that you can go in, you can individually connect with people, send out a note first, reach out to them first, and then they will most likely connect back. LinkedIn is like the old school. If you saw someone's content you liked, it was almost rude not to follow.
Sure.
Very similar on LinkedIn, where if someone connects with you, rarely do you ever not connect back, unless you are all the way like so far up and someone else is trying to reach out to you. But most of the time you're reaching out to other people that are lower or similar or just above, and then you'll connect. So that's the advantage you have in the beginning stages of like your influencer brand journey, is you can reach out to people, connect with them, And that's where you can really build a personable audience connection.
No, and I think that's one of the what's missing in many companies' strategy is that approach as well. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to go after social media, you really need to be looking at a multi-part strategy. And then I think this is something else that we should really communicate to our audience and to anybody who's thinking about this journey. Number one, it's worth it. Number two, there's tremendous opportunity. But three, one of the things I think that sometimes we get wrapped up into in the marketing space is we watch SaaS companies that run an ad and then they're able to just kind of like print other copies and go from 1 to 10,000 customers in 5 minutes. Our market, it doesn't exist like that. No. And all of this is hard work. And it's also about consistency. So if we're going to research our target audience and make sure we have that core ICP, that ideal client defined, and then we're going to develop content that resonates with them and then test it. And then we're going to continue to do that. And every week we're going to have 5 posts or whatever the frequency is. And then we're going to reach out on Sales Navigator and we're going to do all of these things. Right? And then there's a playbook. Once we connect with them on Sales Navigator, we're putting them in our CRM and we're moving them down through marketing automation processes and those things. There's a process, and the key is doing it every day, consistently, over time. And sometimes I think some executives and those from like the older generations, my generation and older, think, wow, that's a lot of effort. That seems like too much work. Well, the alternative is hire more salespeople who are usually very expensive, run the risk for a year, training them and letting them go out there and try it. And then in a year or two, know if it's going to work. At least with this strategy, I think if you're a contrarian, at least with this strategy of consistent effort, brand building, content, storytelling, outreach, you're building equity. You're actually building something of value because there's good feedback. It's not a sales report at the end of the month with the number of quotes and hope and prayer and, belief that it's going to come. There are tangible results and there are quick course corrections that can occur that can get you to where you want to go. And that to me is the beauty of this process. And I think we just have to make sure that we are communicating that it takes day-to-day discipline and execution of these strategies.
Yeah, I mean, content creation is hard. I've been creating for like 2 years, I'd say publicly for social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and then recently LinkedIn. And I think there's one thing I've done is I've taken content breaks where companies like Think Media, they will do bi-yearly 10-day breaks where they just don't post anything in all of their brand social medias, but they've built a brand where they can post something and say, hey, we're not posting for 10 days and people are fine with it. And it's a grind. I mean, building a team that can help you and building a system that works with a team is essential, especially for a company, because you can't really rely on one person to do it all. It's very difficult for one person to fully create for you. Even if you see some creators where it's like they have an editor there with them, usually that creator is already so good at what they're doing that one person can kind of feed off of that, and that's how they can build their brand. So the system can really help you with the grind that is creating content and putting your message out there for your audience and all of that. So it's just whether you have an agency do it for you or whether you go through the difficult time or the grind season of putting together a content creation system, it's just essential to allow you to get past that phase of where it's a daily grind to get that next post out, get that next episode out, and really have that 2 to 3 week or whatever time frame you find is good for you to just be free in what you're creating and not back against the wall whenever you're posting.
Let's switch gears and talk about another project that you worked on. We identified that we needed our own internal podcast studio that wasn't just in my office and using my backdrop, having this great space that we've established. We did our own create content experience last week with 50 marketing team, brought a number of team members in, had their interviews like this. They even interviewed each other and had conversations around client success, video production, a lot of other topics. Talk a little bit about this Create experience, about this part of your internship and what you learned, and just also congratulations. It's great, and we're really enjoying it, and it's made this a lot easier.
Yeah. The podcast studio is pretty much like the capstone, I'd say, of my summer projects. I'm doing all the LinkedIn R&D and building to a little content creation center for the podcast. That was fun. But putting this room together was cool, with the paint in the background, putting together the custom wall, the lights behind it. I love doing like interior design work with the lights and stuff. And then on the sides, which you can see kind of in the corners, we have curtains as well. Having a space where you can kind of create on your own, even though we like to go and do stuff in manufacturing plants, like on the floor of the people we're interviewing or in our own warehouses. Having a specific create-only space is really helpful if you just want to sit down and talk about something. So I think that's what this space will do. I think that's what content creation spaces for other people do for them. And so having this finished before I go will be great. It'll be a great resource for me to come back to. And then working with the team in it, I think it was really cool, where we had this space, but we also have a really cool lobby with the brick and the plants and that modern vibe, where we could also create there and have more of a relaxed conversation compared to in here, where this is where your professional look is, with like very simple brick background and the plants and the lights and stuff. So that's one of my favorite things to do, is to create with others, and the collaboration and feeding off the energy of other people within the company. I like that at school, at college, and I like that here working. So having a space where you can come and do it, that's yours, and not a rented studio where it's like, oh, you're kind of crunching on time because you're paying for it. Here, the payment's already been done. So now it's just utilizing it as much as you're able to, or as much as you want.
Excellent. Let's switch gears again. Create to Inspire. You are launching your own brand. You have been doing things, and you've really gone through a rebranding experience. You had the Dawoods 2 podcast. You had a couple of other things going, and now you're really centering around Create to Inspire. Can you tell me a little bit about Create to Inspire, what it is, and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, so I had my podcast that ran for like a year. It wasn't a weekly thing. It was when I could get to it at college, because I didn't really have the systems in place that I do now. And so the Dawoods 2 podcast has now become the Will Woods experience, where it's become more loose. Instead of like only sitting down and talking, it's maybe there's a little bit of a vlog before the episode comes in, similar to like a Nelka Boys type of podcast. And then you're interviewing people. You're really seeing the authentic side of them, maybe the little conversation you have before and after the podcast, and really just sharing the stories of students in whatever phase of life they're in college, or it's a young professional, or it's the professors. So then if you're unsure about college, you get that perspective of what they're trying to do to teach you and to help you grow. And so the whole background of the Will Woods 2 experience, all of my socials, is creating to inspire others to use the gifts and talents they've been given, that they have, to steward them, and then to go out and create to inspire others to do the same thing. Whatever it is, whatever your talent is, whether it's writing, whether it is speaking, whether it's doing stuff with your hands, I think you have a duty to go at it and use those talents and actually inspire and help others. And so that's kind of the background of all the stuff that I do. And then with the other brands that we're starting, we're planning on starting the brand Create a Light, where it's the same idea. It's seeing the light that people are putting in the world and sharing their stories, whether it's athletes and what they're doing, and using their platform, their brand, their skills, just to inspire and lift others in whatever space they're doing. So whether you're entertaining others, whether you're teaching others, or whether you're building for others as an engineer, a teacher, a nurse, a business student, or a business professional, you're creating a light, and we want to share that with that brand. So that's what that brand does, and that's what my personal brand does, is really just inspire others, get out of your shell, and go at and work at what you have and steward it to help others.
Excellent. And you've already been working over the past several years. You did some work in England. This just a couple months ago, you were in Pittsburgh. You have plans next year to possibly go around the country and to some different events and work with some different organizations, potentially Europe. Also, we'll see how that works out if we can pull that off. But
so when you look at these opportunities you have, and there's a lot of them and they're coming fast, what would you tell a young person about just going for it?
Yeah, I mean, there's one quote, and I don't know exactly who said it, where it's basically start fast, stay focused, finish strong. And I think I found that at college, I found that in professional life, is starting fast and jumping right into whatever it is extremely beneficial. I saw it, the difference between different group of friends, myself and other group of friends of who actually went at it, took some risks, really put the work in the front compared to what is going on for them now and what's going on for myself now. Starting fast is a catalyst for that, is jumping in with the people. If there's an opportunity, you need to say yes to a lot of things to find the thing, and that's when you can start saying no. You dip your toe into a bunch of things, find what works the best for you, say no to the rest, and then triple down on that. But you have to start fast in those different arenas. And so that's where like I showed up to campus, I had my camera and I was filming a lot of stuff and I was putting my name out there. I was getting involved with all the different groups of people that I could. And that really was a catalyst to the foundation that I set to where now I'm involved as a president of the entrepreneurship organization, vice president of my class, and being involved with the leadership team for the School of Business at Cedarville. So I think it's really not being afraid, where it's like, there's a moment where it's like, should I talk to that person? Do I want to interview them? Do I want to reach out to them? And there are some people I didn't reach out to, I didn't talk to, and that went nowhere. But there are other people where I was willing to go out and talk to them. I was willing to go up to people that you would never think you could interact with, and they responded back, and you had that opportunity, and it came to fruition and had really cool opportunities. And one of those was Justin Powell. I had him on the podcast, and I just reached out to him and was like, hey, you have the opportunity. You gave an invite to the school to come out to your place. I'd like to take you up on that offer. Turns out I was the only group. My friends were the only group that did that. So we had the podcast with them. We were invited back and we were able to hang out. So just being willing to go against what your gut actually might be saying to you. And maybe it's your head thinking it and your gut's telling you yes, whatever it is. Sometimes it's just pushing past that barrier and saying yes and going for it.
Sure.
Whenever you've looked at some of the opportunities you've had, I mean, I go back to, you were on a call with one of your mentors at school, and Gino Wickman, who is the father of EOS, and having a conversation. And I think I'll quote him correctly, where he said, Will, if you're trying to take EOS to your college organizations, you are one in a million of someone who's your age group who is involved in EOS. One, being on a call with Gino Wickman at 20, that's pretty cool. 19, I mean, that's really cool. Being involved and being recognized by someone like that who recognizes how unique your experiences and willingness to put yourself out are, that's great. And so I think that type of approach will serve you well in your career. And so no, it's interesting to learn about your brands and hear about those things. I'll be watching as a fan and trying to keep up with you. We're doing our level best here. And one of the other things I think I want to revisit, and I want to make sure that no one has the misconception that they can go and just hire someone off the street and generate this type of social media plan. So one of the things that's missing in B2B and manufacturing marketing is an understanding of the fact that to execute what we've talked about today takes an entire team. So you've been involved certainly as a more of a consultant and a idea visionary, and then you've actually carried a lot of it through to fruition. But then you've actually leveraged our team internally to continue it and perpetuate it, because tomorrow you go back to school and the show must go on.
Yeah.
And what would you say to a business owner or an executive who wants to tell their brand story, who wants to engage social media? They want a full YouTube channel. They want to be able to lean into content on their website. They want to look at Sales Navigator. They want a little bit or a lot of everything we talked about here so they can build millions in pipeline, so they can activate their market, the entire market, the 95 and the 5. What do you think is the most important takeaway for them to understand and properly to have a proper perspective on resourcing this initiative?
I think one of the best things that a executive can do to actually build their social media pipeline and create content is to reach out to people who are already doing it and learn from them. There's no secret sauce out there. People just are learning it from others. So it's coming down from those who started it to the next phase, to the next group of people. You don't have to invent your own thing. That's where you can spend the value or the money or whatever it is to reach out and connect with those people who are already doing it, learn from them, and then bring it into your own arena. Learning the systems that this group or this person is utilizing, create those systems that will work for your niche or your operation, and then bringing people into the system. The system is really what can drive it. It's not the people. Rarely can you get that superstar that will come in and fix it all. And if so, it's going to cost you a lot.
Sure.
And so if you want to go that route, that might work, but then the scalability of that is also very costly. So building that forefront system where maybe you are doing it and you're putting in a lot more hours in the beginning stages, it can trickle down into this spot where maybe there's 4 or 5 or 6 people in that system doing it for you, and you're completely hands off. And so it takes more upfront. It's taken me 2 years of upfront, I would say. Let's help trickle down into what 50 is doing with Missing Half, and to where my brand is right now, where it's truly a system created around what I'm doing, and I don't have to put all that forefront effort into it anymore. So yeah, gleaning from other people who are doing it, applying it to your own stuff, and then bringing people into that system that you've already built to work on the pipeline and post the content to build your brand.
But I think that's a great takeaway, because it would be untoward of us to communicate that you hire one person and all this happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the challenges that you accepted when we talked about this back in January, so that would be 8 months ago, was that by the end of this summer, you would be able to walk away from it and it would keep running.
Yeah.
So we had to put time into SOPs, playbooks. We had to have multidisciplinary people involved to be able to shoot the video, edit the video, script, all of those things. And so you've helped to build a system and a playbook that can be perpetuated.
Mm.
And that's a costly journey, and you were able to focus on it.
Yeah.
If a manufacturer wants to do that and they have a marketing manager who also has to worry about trade shows and events and different things happening at the factory and salespeople asking for things and all these other responsibilities, it is not reasonable to assume that they can also then activate an amazing content creation environment, as well as post consistently, as well as do all the copywriting, as well as do Sales Navigator, as well as do the market identification, the branding, all of it, right? There's a lot there. So I think that's an important designation or recognition when we think about this whole process. Well, thank you so much for your time today. A lot of effort went into all of this, and I'm sure you'll be watching as we continue, and we'll certainly be watching you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for having me again. The completion of the podcast studio and everything that's going on with the Missing Half podcast and 50. It was a great marketing internship experience, and I'm glad to be a part of all the projects I was a part of.
Great. Thank you for joining the Missing Half podcast, where we're discovering what's missing in manufacturing and B2B marketing. Please subscribe, comment, or like. Thanks for watching.